Hello there and welcome back to the Cozy Club, my friends, and we've got a banger video for you today as we are going to be taking a more in-depth look into the new and improved adventure faction. On top of that, we're going to be taking a closer look at Lily from the Jungle Cruise, also known as Emily Blunt, and now that I've gotten some time to really test her and see how she works with other factions in the adventure faction, is she truly going to take one of the worst factions in the game and rise them up to be in line with the other ones? We're going to be taking a look at that, and also we're going to be really kind of theory crafting some synergies and places I think she's going to fit. Now, again, guys, we're not going to see the full strength of the adventurers until Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson comes out, but I've definitely got enough testing with Lily to see what she provides and show you guys really where her viability is going to be. So let's go ahead and jump into today's video. Alrighty, friends, well, welcome in. Just in case you are lost and you have no idea where we currently are in the game, we are in the adventure filter. Now, I'm sure many of you probably haven't even clicked on this filter before because the adventure faction was just complete garbage dumpster fire trash. They were not a good faction by any stretch of the imagination, and it almost felt like they were released a little too early. I think they came out when the Rescue Rangers squad came, and at the time, it was just very head-scratching. There was no synergy. The ones that they picked to go in didn't make a ton of sense. Like, Moana's in there, but Maui's not. There's just some interesting things about them, and they didn't have enough going for them to be a legit faction in the game when you have so many of these characters below C tier on the tier list. I mean, you've got Chip, Dale, Captain Jack Sparrow, Monterey Jack for the most part, Bo Peep's situational. None of them were that great. But now that we've got the Jungle Cruise characters with Emily/Lily and Dwayne/Mr. Frank Wolf, looking a whole lot better. If you guys want to see my first impressions, I did do a video on this the other day. Feel free to check up the link up in the right-hand corner. But before we kind of dip into what this faction's identity is, let's kind of talk about Lily a little bit more. Now, guys, Lily, we did talk about her in good detail, but to quickly pull up her stats here, kind of average around the board. She has very high speed, good defense, and better than average health with 25,000. This is at maxed out, and she still has respectable stats across the board as you level and scale her up. Now, Lily is going to be a very interesting character, and let's quickly talk about her moveset. Starting off with her basic Spear Vault. Again, we talked about these, but guys, now that I've been able to use her, usually kids can read one way and perform a whole nother, right? So her basic is actually really strong, really great altogether. It's a 30% chance to steal 20% turn meter, which she can give herself tactics, and so you're actually going to be seeing her do this a lot and stealing a lot of turn meter from the enemy team. On top of that, it's an amazing basic for any kind of club adventurers like the Forbidden Depths. So she has great viability, and again, we talked about this in the first impressions video, but what makes these characters really strong is their viability in both PvP and other game modes. It kind of feels like her kit was built for both. So anyway, Spear is great. Documenting history is a very powerful move that can amp up one specific faction to like 200%. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. But she's so fast, she's able to get this out very quickly. And what this does is it's going to be giving your tank on your team or your defense characters on your team, it's going to give them a taunt. If your opponent has a Baymax and you've got Lily on your team and they don't have like Hero Hamada, you're going to be able to take that taunt from that Baymax or from that beast and give it to your own tank on your team, which, regardless the faction, is absolutely huge. Having a lightning fast character taking something as powerful as a taunt or taking those protects from Hercules or those attack ups and giving it to your own team is really clutch and is really where her viability is shining as an individual character. And on the bottom here also, guys, just as an extra note, this is going to be great in the raid. If they don't have any type of helpful effect, you're going to be stripping a ton of turn meter. So again, PvP viability and PvE. Zipline is great for damage, implying slows to make Moana hit a little bit harder. And again, you're going to be taking 15% from the enemy, and you're also going to be giving your own adventurer teammates 15% turn meter. So big swing on the battlefield, no pun intended with the zipline. Moving to the passive, a lot better than I thought it was when I first read it. I knew it was going to be good, but You know, guys, we keep seeing these characters that gain speed meter when they lose evasion. You know, you've got Mother Gothel and Glitch, and now you've got Lily here, Emily Blunt, doing the exact same thing. She gains a lot of turn meter, and she gets a lot of moves going pretty quickly. Now, again, guys, in this meta that we're in, it's this control, kind of villains take control over you, or, you know, Hercules dominates you. And that's still going to be there. And once we see the Dwayne The Rock, I think it's going to be vastly different. But let's go ahead and break this down a little more, guys. On top of whenever this all triggers, you're going to be able to, whenever, let's read it here, when an adventure teammate scores a critical hit or Lily begins a turn with a harmful effect, 30% chance. Now, we all know that Glue Mobile and their math isn't great. You can look at Hercules and his basic attack, and we definitely know that that's not the percentage that is, you know, described on the ability. If we're being frank about it, 30% seems to happen more often than not, and giving tactics to some adventurers is pretty dang crazy, especially Barley. With his Quest of Yore, you're going to be guaranteeing that crit power up, which makes Crashing Wave or any Barley Bomb team way more viable. Super strong passive here, and Lily really bumps him up. Hercules does strongly counter her and a lot of the stealing that she does, and I think that the Rock or Frank is going to fix that. But again, great wild characters, and overall, Lily's solid. Bumped up the team a ton. All right, now that we're done talking about Lily as a whole, let's go back to this identity of the adventurers faction. Now, again, they're going to be great in club adventures, which has me led to believe they're going to be really solid in the new game modes and obviously in the new upcoming raid. They still suffer one problem, and it's, you know, it's still kind of getting figured out. And again, we're going to have to really see once it's all said and done. They do lack some strong offense outputs. They're really great at critical hits and enhancing the characters that they have, although they have this kind of confusion identity when it comes to big, strong attackers. To be quite honest, the best offense attackers here, Moana is just amped up, man. Moana with Raya and with Lily just becomes this like machine paddle smacking gun. It's ridiculous what she can do, and the fact that she keeps getting better, it just makes it easier and easier to recommend you guys that if you're just starting this game out, or you know, you haven't gotten Moana yet, or you haven't farmed Moana yet, go do it. Go do it now, because she is crazy in every game mode and everything in DSA. But anyway, guys, you're gonna be hitting great strong hitting attacks with Moana. And then Raya, check out this clip here, guys. Raya is going to be insane because Warrior's Fury, this second attack, it didn't have a lot of meat to it. Before, this was being scaled up, kind of like Namari, but Namari only needs Kingdom Villains to scale hers up, whereas Raya needed other adventurers, and they weren't worth using those other slots on the team. But now with Lily, Moana, Barley, and eventually Frank, this ability hits quite hard, and it's going to be doing even more damage once we've got the leadership for them. I think that Raya is going to be not quite Namari because of how the passive works for Namari, but Raya is definitely going and just shooting up in viability because of the new Jungle Cruise team coming out. Really like what she does. I like that she gives up to 40% turn meter, and the damage she does is starting to really add up. Now, Raya is always going to suffer from very low health. She has 19,000 health, so she's pretty easy to pick off. But overall, just like Moana, quite frankly, once we have access to farm her, just like Moana became farmable, you've got to go after Raya if you think that you want to be very viable in club adventure game modes. And again, I think that we're going to get the raid next, right? And that means the new club game mode is quite a while away, or at least a few months in my opinion, or a couple months, who knows. But start farming them now. Start working on these adventures now, because you're going to need them. And if you're really interested in these new game modes, I think this is going to be your faction in dominating the PvE aspect of the game. Now, time is only going to tell how they hold up in other game modes, but taking a look at PvP, guys, we're going to be playing some battles behind me. But before that, let's go ahead and show you guys kind of the best teams that I have found and kind of what I was talking about earlier. And it's going to be the Oceanic faction. Now, right now, we've got pretty much all adventurers here, and, you know, this isn't Oceanics at all, but I want to point out something where Lily really helps boost the viability of the Oceanic faction. And so much so, you don't have to have Raya on the team. You can even get rid of Barley if you want to, and replace those with Bubbles and some other Oceanic characters. what I love about what she can do to really provide some great, amazing synergy with the Oceanic faction is, again, all in this documenting history. She is so fast, and again, you're going to be able to take those Baymax taunts at the beginning of the game, or those beast, or those faster faction taunts, and you're going to be giving your taunt over to Maui, which giving a taunt over to Maui is going to give Moana an instant turn right off the bat. And with this team already, Moana is already getting that instant turn to start the battle. So you're getting lightning fast play out of Moana, your best offensive character. You're going to have great, insane damage with Warrior's Fury because you've got 4 different adventures on this team, and it really works out. It punches up pretty dang well. With the right RNG, I can beat just about any team with this. It doesn't beat everything. Of course, it's not going to nuke all the best legendaries in the game, but without even Frank Wolf and only with Lily into the game, I think she's definitely showing that she's going to be viable, especially once we have the entire faction. This is probably one of my favorite teams at the moment. I also think that Cobra Bubbles has a nice place in this team because she's giving tactics to other people, other adventurers on the team. Cobra Bubbles here, he'll give the tactics to Maui. Everyone's going to have tactics on the team. Cobra's going to assist all the time. I like the team. I like the team a lot. This one's really built around the crashing wave even more so by giving the barley bomb over to Moana, giving the taunt for a very fast crashing wave, and then giving the attack up and the tactics to Moana as well. So very solid team here. I love what I'm seeing out of them, and I'm just excited to get my hands on the entire faction altogether. So all of this brings me to the question for you guys down in the comment section. This is our adventurer faction. Now, I don't think or know if Glue is going to put more characters into this faction. I wish they would kind of reevaluate the roster and see who they want to plug in here. But guys, asking you guys as a community, what other characters that we have here on the current roster should be in the adventurer faction, or what characters coming out would make sense to plug in here? That's what I want to hear about, because quite honestly, the more adventurers that we get, the better they're going to become. All it takes is a lead and some better characters in one faction to buff the faction up overall. Guys, I think the adventurers have a good chance, and I think Lily is really bringing them up to compete with the rest of the factions, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see once Frank comes out here with his leadership, with the crits going on all the time, with the stealing and the gaining of the speed turn meter. I think that they really are going to hold up really nicely in the meta, because they already are holding their own weight without the main puzzle piece. So, Cozy Club, you guys can definitely depend on me to go and test this faction out very thoroughly and see if they're going to be a new faction worth going after. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this kind of speculation and look at the adventurer faction. And guys, Lily is going to be worth it, but definitely hold off. Don't do anything until we get her farmable within the game. For the most part, again, don't get caught up in the new metas. Let them settle, see what works on the top end. Let those whales and pay-to-play players really test things out, and then, you know, see if it flushes out and see if they're going to be a solid faction. All right, my friends, thank you so much for stopping by today's video, and until next time, stay cozy.